The comments, opinions, and views shared during this program are of those individual Freemasons and do not reflect the official position of a Grand Lodge, concordant body, appendant body, Masonic Authority, or craftsmanonline.com.
Welcome back to the Craftsman Online Podcast, the only Masonic podcast endorsed by the Grand Lodge of New York. I'm your host, Right Worshipful Brother Michael Arce. We are pushing for 20 subscribers on our Patreon feed this fall, and you can totally help us out. You can get a free 7-day start, see what it's all about with ad-free listening. You get your episodes a week early and access to our entire back catalog of the Craftsman Online Podcast with some of our subscriber extra episodes, all in the notes for this episode, and you can join us for $5 a month. Yeah, help us get that word out to those seeking Freemasonry, and we thank all of our supporters in advance. Also, some exciting news on the show as we look forward to next month. The third annual Black Friday holiday shopping episode is happening on Monday, November 24th. Sponsored by BricksMasons.com. I say this with a smile on my voice because I love this. For 3 years now, Brother Matthew Brockbank and I get together. It becomes a holiday tradition of Matt finding the weirdest and just out-of-the-box gift ideas at BricksMasons.com, giving his review, and we share them with you for those hard-to-find or hard-to-shop for Freemasons on your holiday shopping list. Our third annual Black Friday holiday shopping episode is back on Monday, November 24th, or the 17th, if you're one of our Patreon subscribers. You've joined us for a masterclass episode on the Entered Apprentice journey, and I am so honored to welcome and embrace this brother on the Craftsman Online Podcast. He's the Junior Grand Deacon for the Grand Lodge of New York. Right Worshipful Brother Gary Salgado. Gary, my brother, I see you got a cigar in hand. What kind is that?
They're little ones, so they don't count.
Are those the backwoods ones?
Oh, yeah, because I'm Puerto Rican, I smoke backwards.
Well, no, you're the second guest I've had on this week that's smoked a cigar while I'm doing a podcast taping, and I'm like, man, I wasn't going to smoke a cigar tonight, but now I'm all of a sudden in the mood.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me in, and I'm looking forward to this evening.
He's joining us from his office with 4 wheels, top open, and cigar in hand.
Yes, the fruits of my labor. I worked all day today, took a shower, and now when I go back in the house, I got to take another one.
Well, thank you for taking a shower before our podcast recording. It feels fresh in here already for me. And it's beautiful because by the time this episode airs, brothers will be like, he's out in his car with the convertible top open, smoking a cigar. I'm like, yeah, we're recording this in September as our lodges here in New York State are getting back to business. They're opening. You got the worshipful masters up there knocking knees, sweaty heads for the first time, dropping that gavel. If you're lucky, your lodge had met an interested gentleman, or maybe you had a prospect from the end of last year who's gone through that balloting process. You're starting to do the rehearsals. You're getting ready for the first degree. And that's the whole point of this episode is it's our masterclass on the Entered Apprentice's journey. Brother Gary, what is your recollection? Like, where did it all begin for you at that EA degree?
So there's a little caveat to this because I was actually initiated in a clandestine lodge.
Wow, okay.
Before becoming a regular Mason in the Grand Lodge in New York.
So did you have 2 first degrees, or did they heal you and you could just keep that first one?
No, I did everything the right way. Thank God for my mother lodge, Dunwoody Lodge, who did an excellent job. But yeah, I was initiated. I had told probably my best friend in the world, since I'm a little kid, he told me about becoming a Mason, and I didn't, at that time, I really didn't know a lot about it. I just knew I wanted to be a part of something greater. I wanted to associate with different kind of men, and I said, okay. I used my best friend. I didn't even think twice to wonder his validity. We had, been friends since the time we were 11. So it was like, okay. And I went with him. I said I wanted to be a Mason, and a few days later, I was initiated.
And this was the clandestine lodge, obviously.
The clandestine lodge, just that fast. It was like, yeah, we're going to have a degree. You want to come? Okay, I showed up. I bought a tuck. I put a uniform on. Uniform was the same.
Okay.
I walked through the door, and I got smacked in the chest.
With
with an open hand.
Woo, okay.
And I won't say what happens with us, but I'll stay there because it's not really what we don't have anything close to that.
Right.
So it was really like, and I just went through it. I had no idea. I just fast forwarded. I went through the first degree. It was like I had no idea what I learned. You know, almost like in Blue Lodge, you have no idea what the hell you just went.
Yep. No, I totally hear you. It's funny. You had two first degree experiences. So I'm gonna guess you went through all 3 degrees in the clandestine lodge, or did you just do the one?
So listen what they did for me for the second and third. They gave me a 2-for-1, all in one night. All in one night.
Wow. And is the story anything close?
It was a nightmare. What really did it for me was they were going to have another initiation, and I didn't know a grip. I didn't know a word. I didn't know anything. And I'm sitting there, and they're reading out of this book. I think it's Duncan's Ritual, if I am correct, right? Duncan's Ritual. And the guy who was reading the degree couldn't read.
Yep.
So not only did they not know it from memory, but he couldn't even read. And I was like, yeah, something's wrong. So thank God for a past master from Prince Hall, where I used to be in the bowling league with my dad. And the short version of this story is another brother who was actually like a mentor to me growing up. I didn't know he was a Mason, a real Mason. And he tells past master Pablo Rojas, who is a past master of Boyer Lodge #1 in the Prince Hall, most worshipful Prince Hall of the Grand Lodge in New York. He says, he said that I was going to, get initiated, and I was going to go for my 3rd degree, but I didn't know it was the 2nd or 3rd. And he says he's going to go for that walk. And he said, what lodge? And believe it or not, the name of the lodge was St. John's Lodge.
But not the, yeah.
He told me it was bogus. And I wanted to kill him. I was so angry. I got some information afterwards. After that initiation for the new brother, I went up to my best friend. I said, something's wrong and you don't see it. And he said, oh, don't listen to those Prince Hall guys. You know, they're blah, 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 blah. I'm like, bro, I love you, but this is not for me.
That is a tough conversation to have, man.
I'm talking about my best friend in the world. My best friend since I was 11. I actually even dated his sister. I mean, it was like we couldn't get any closer. And he stopped talking to me. And I went on a journey to try to find a new home. And this is what I tell a lot of people, and I think this is a part of why I love Masonry so much, is because I know what it's not. See, some brothers are lucky enough to get into a lodge, and it's a beautiful setting, and it's all the beauty that we try to give to our newly initiated brothers. We try to transfer that into this moment, right? We try to create a space where it's really like, okay, we're going to do something special at this moment. You know, they practice the ritual. So there's a lot of work, right, into this moment. And long story short, I was going to go into a Prince Hall Lodge, and it was some kind of like back and forth about a few things. And then I kept knocking. There was a brother at my job who was a Mason. I saw the square and compass on his ring, and I had to ask him 3 times. And after the 3rd time, he was like, okay, I got a place for you. And he brought me to Dunwoody Lodge, where I met a past master. And, you know, that was the beginning. I felt the difference from the time I met the past master.
Versus the irregular lodge, yeah.
Right. I mean, just in conversation. I met up with the worshipful master, came to a home visit. They met my wife, and they did what, you know, brothers usually do. Hopefully everyone knows you should be interviewed at your home. If you're married or you have a significant other, they should be speaking to that person and really letting them know what the expectation is. And, you know, I've been blessed with a beautiful wife who supports me 1,000%. And she basically told him he needs this.
Get him out of my house.
I think that's what after being a Mason after so many years, she was like, please get him away from me. I think that's what she was saying.
Put him around other people like himself, too.
The other crazy people. So then I was initiated, probably the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Mm.
And the work was incredible because, and I want anyone who's listening to this to keep in mind that I know what masonry is not. And for me, to hear the master do all the work, and the same past master came into the preparation room, right? And it was 4 of us. And I'll never forget, he said, I just want you to keep in mind that everything that's done tonight is done by memory. And for me, it must have been like he was wondering what I was thinking. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, he needs to hear this. And I just closed my eyes and, when I walked through the door and I didn't get smacked, it was like, oh, okay, this is different.
I think it's cool that past master did that. And I don't want to interrupt, but we're definitely going to pick back up with this conversation. But I think that's a really valid point. And I want the candidate to hear that, but I also want the brothers that are performing the degree, we usually call them the degree team, but then the other brothers that are the sideliners that are just going to show up to hear this from you, is that it's important to know that these rituals are done by men who memorize the work. These guys take time out of their lives away from their families. This is what they obsess over for days, weeks, sometimes months. Some of them do it like they have a constant role every time their lodge does the first degree. They're the guy that does a historical lecture. This is our middle chamber guy. This is the guy that plays this part in the third degree. And I think it's really important for brothers to know that if we don't support these guys, then we don't have good ritual. And that experience that you're talking about isn't going to be there. And then that feeling that you have right now as a Master Mason, it wouldn't be there because you just didn't have that good foundation. When you walk in and you see guys that don't take the degree work seriously, that are reading things out of a book, and nothing against the people that do that, but there's a big difference between those guys and the ones that we're proud of to say, wow, look, I go to the first degree just to see this guy do this part because it's so amazing.
Interesting that you say that because it was a lot of people there. Right now, I don't know why there's so many people here. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible.
When people talk about this being, I always say it's like one of the top 5 most memorable moments of my life. Like, I'm never going to forget where I was the first and second day my oldest and my son were born. I'll never forget those days when my kids were born. Never forget where I was when I finally graduated from college after all those years and tries and crying. never going to forget that one. Never going to get the day that I get married. But the other day I'll never forget is the day I took my first degree and the day that I got raised as a Master Mason. It's 2 of the biggest days of my life. Those are top 5 days.
I agree with you 100%. I think the night when I felt like after it happened, after we were initiated and we sat in the northeast corner, and a past master told me that it was my lodge, I believed him. Well, I could tell you I've been a Mason about 12 years now, 12 or 13, and I might have missed 2 meetings in all those years because I felt so. I mean, now if I miss it, it's because I'm on Grand Line, and I was told that I no longer belong to my mother lodge. I belong to Grand Lodge.
Or the Grand Master.
Yeah.
Hold on, I think he heard that and he's calling me right now. Just kidding. Love you, most worshipful. I hear what you're saying, and I wanted to get your take on that as well, because one of the things I love about our Grand Line of the Grand Lodge in New York, and I hope other New York Masons feel this way, like I do, is that this is the most approachable Grand Line I have experienced in my time as a Mason, which is 10 years. And when I hang out with you guys, I feel like you're members of my lodge and I'm a member of your lodge. Like there's no like quote unquote line that divides us. Like it really is this special, very unique bond. You can tell that you guys like each other. You like spending time around each other, and you like being and serving the craft. And that's what I love about our Grand Line.
From what I heard, I could only speak about my time on Grand Line, but it's really one line. For the brothers who aren't on Grand Line in our jurisdiction, is basically, the Grandmaster has a team, and then the Deputy Grandmaster has a team, but we're all one Grand Line. And whenever we're together, I feel like I'm with my friends. I mean, I really feel like, you had Don Gorham on the podcast already. He's a fantastic human being. Addison Cruz, I think he's going to be king of the Philippines one day.
Agreed. Yeah.
I mean, he's a fantastic human being. Gustavo, Peter Humphreys. I mean, all the brothers. The Grandmaster's incredible. I know his heart is in the right place. I know he's working really hard, and he has put out a lot for the brothers to try to grasp. It's been an exciting time. I'm with the Deputy Grandmaster, Right Worshipful Bob Hogan, who's an incredible human being. We have, Nicky Palicelli, John Pasqualiccio, and Angel Ruiz. I'm surrounded by good guys all the time, and it's been a wonderful experience. It's a lot because I'm still working, so trying to balance everything is a job in itself. But I'm super proud to walk around with that with these brothers.
You get the benefit of traveling to all of these lodges around New York State. What are some of the takeaways that you have now with this passion that burns inside of you? What is it that you go up and impress upon that new entered apprentice, that new brother who's been obligated that night? And you've got a purple apron and he has no idea what that means.
Every time when I speak to a candidate or a newly raised brother, what I try to tell them is masonry is all about what you put into it. So I'll just go to the meal sometimes and I'll tell them, hey, listen, when you go to your mother's house, do you go up just to eat? Or do you go to say hi, to see if she needs anything? So I try to tell them, like, if you get involved with getting the room together, it's really helpful. Every lodge is different. And my lodge and my mother lodge, the senior deacon is supposed to take care of the preparation of the room. So it's his job to set it up. And, if you come early enough when the food comes, when the brother brings the food in, maybe you can help him bring it down. Really try to get them invested in. It's not magic that the room just opens up and it looks this way.
I got to ask you this question, Right Worshipful. So your mother lodge, are you one of the fortunate Blue Lodges that every year you get to start the year off with a candidate who's beginning their Masonic journey?
This year, we have people, but I believe we're trying to really practice the North Star program. I mean, we just initiated 3 guys at the end of the year.
That's kind of my point, is that I feel that, so it's funny, the way that the calendar year falls in New York is very similar to the school calendar year. So as the kids are getting ready to go back to school, and parents can't wait for that, dad's getting ready to go back to lodge, and mom can't wait for that either. She gets the house to herself. There's a certain excitement and energy, I think, that comes with a lodge. Having been a member of a lodge where we have a first degree that we're going to do either in October or November. So there's the rehearsals, there's the preparation. And as tense and as stressful as that moment can be, there's also that cool excitement because we're like, man, we can't wait to put Johnny through the best degree experience he's ever going to have, because it's like, as you say, it's the brothers getting around and making that meal for them, that nourishment, so that he's excited and he wants to come back and can't wait to do the second degree that we want to try to do for him. Where it's different, where if you have a lodge where we haven't really made a brother or even raised a brother in like 3 or 4 years, like things start to get a little rusty. It's not that you're tired of seeing the same guys all the time, but that energy is kind of missing. You know what I mean?
100%. We've always at least initiated a brother every year since I've been a Mason. I was initiated 1 week and 4 more brothers were initiated the following week. So I was able to see the degree right after I went through it, which is also something I tell the brothers who are newly initiated. Once they're initiated, I said, the great part is going through it. It's even better when you see someone else go through it.
that's the thing that I find myself saying to the newly obligated brothers. And for those that are like, what are they talking about? The guys that take their first degree, they've been newly obligated. They're entered apprentices. That's the term. But I always say to them, like, hey, look, when it comes to coming to the meetings, as you say, you get out of masonry what you put into it. And they're like, well, I already paid my dues, or what are you talking about? I was like, no. Your time, man, your time. As badly as you wanted this experience, we wanted to hang out with you. So if you don't come to the lodge, it's like you're taking something away from us, because we were looking forward to having you as a part of our group.
I initiated one of my coworkers one time. I brought him in. He demitted, and that's another conversation. He demitted because of his religious beliefs, and that's we could have a whole nother podcast on that.
Deal.
Great guy, great brother. And after his initiation, after he was obligated and made an entered apprentice, he said, "I want to be able to do that."
Mm.
And let me tell you, my heart opened up, and I'm like, "Oh my God, he's going to be great." Once you understand that it's really not you, it's about being in service. Because I'm a Grand Line officer, but I'm serving our grand jurisdiction. That's my job. I'm an ambassador to the craft. That's why when you see me, I look happy.
Because you are happy.
Right? Every time you see me, I'm laughing and because I'm happy to be around my brothers. I really love masonry. I really love the fact that we have a lot of young brothers in our jurisdiction coming up and really doing the work. And I'll give the Grand Master a lot of credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it's about. It's identifying leaders. So when I had that brother tell me that he wanted to be able to do that, I was like, well, listen, tomorrow we could start on the process of you doing that.
I will admit, when I first started masonry as an obligated apprentice, my lodge mentor or success coach, I think is what we call them now, but the brother that kind of gets assigned to you by the lodge, he partners up with you and helps you work on, we call it the catechism. It's the work you have to do so that you can move to the next degree. There's a lot of memorization that goes into it. If you haven't had that conversation with your success coach yet, ask him, hey, I heard on that podcast, they said there's a lot of memorization. Like, what are they talking about? It's key. It does trip some people up. It almost got me in the second degree. I remember telling him, I'm like, look, I will learn what you want me to learn, but I'm going to put this in a temporary folder in my brain. And you told me that I got to do 3 of these degrees. So as soon as I'm done, I'm going to forget all of this stuff, because I didn't really come for this. I came for this other part of Mason, because you see, I didn't understand that that's what Masonry was all about, is that ritual that you learn is what stays with you. When you get up at 6 a.m. to go to work, when you're lying in bed and you can't fall asleep at night, when you're interacting with other people, whether it's a car ride by yourself or you're in a crowded room, those words just kind of float around in your own voice, in your own head, man. And that is what makes you a Mason right there. And I wanted to talk to that a little bit, because for those brothers that are getting into this and they're maybe sharing the same feeling I had about ritual, where they're like, it's not really for me. Can you speak to how rewarding it feels, and probably still feels, when you get tapped or asked or volunteer to take a part in doing a first degree for another brother?
My favorite piece is the apron presentation. It was given to me by a past master. So the brother that was there that I followed as an entered apprentice, the master of my lodge, his name is Worshipful Esteban Rodriguez. And I went everywhere he went. And as soon as I was raised, I said, what should I learn? And he said, learn the apron. And I want you to do it, because I've been doing it since I was initiated, and then I was trying to give it to somebody else.
We had another brother that was supposed to be on this podcast recording, but he wasn't able to make it tonight. And you say his last name much better than I could. So, right, worshipful brother John.
Pasquilitio.
he wasn't able to make it tonight, and he had sent, these perspective questions. And I got to tell you, Gary, we literally didn't use any of them, but there was one point that was a theme in his outline that I did want to address, because we talked about how it started. And for you, I mean, I had no idea. That is a very interesting start. Let's talk about where the EA degree ends, at least in New York State and most regular lodges. It ends by being placed in the northeast corner of the lodge. And you explain what the significance of that is at that time. What does it mean for you, without giving away any of our secrets, when it comes to the northeast corner? When you think of that as a building or a foundation, and as a man, as a mason, what does the northeast corner represent to you?
Really, for me, I mean, it's changed now. It's hope. The northeast corner for me is hope. It's hope for the brother. It's hope for the lodge. My wife would often say to me, "Why do you get so excited about the new guys?" Like, because she see me be disappointed with some of the outcomes of brothers that come out. And like, I'll come home and be like, "Oh man, we got this guy," and I'm super psyched on him. And then some brothers fizzle out. Some masonry is not for everyone. It's hope. It's hope that he can take the working tools of an entered apprentice and really inculcate them in his life, and really transform his life from an upright man to a mason. And it all begins in the northeast corner. Nobody wants to come to lodge and hear about what happened 70 years ago when we had 800 people and now we have 11 brothers in the room. The new guys don't want to hear that. They don't want to feel like they missed the boat. They want to feel like they're an oar in the water. They want to feel like they're a part of what's happening, and they're going to make a difference. And that's what I like to tell them. I had a brother of mine, I'm just going to say this real quick, who hated to be in the northeast corner. He hated to wait outside. He felt like, oh man, like they're treating us like suckers. Why we got to wait outside? And to me, for me, the best feeling was to wait for them to drop the lodge in order for us to go in.
Yeah, we're old enough to remember when we were EAs and fellow crafts, we couldn't sit in lodge because business could only be done on the master mason level, and that's changed, thankfully, and we were able to let guys share that experience. To that point, though, I have a follow-up question on it. So you're master of the lodge this year, right? Not of your lodge. I'm just saying hypothetically, you're master of the lodge. You've got this new brother that's come in as an entered apprentice. You want to get him engaged with the lodge, but you know what's ahead of him with the catechism, getting ready for his next degree. You don't want to overwhelm the guy. What do you do to keep this brother, I don't want to say in line because you can't put him in the officer line, but what do you do to keep him engaged, to keep him involved?
That's actually probably one of the hardest things to do, I find, is because you don't want to overwhelm him right in the beginning with giving him a responsibility. He is an entered apprentice. What I would try to do is make sure that he never eats alone, make sure that we have his number. You want to make sure you stay in contact, invite him to an event, ask him what he's doing, maybe take him, make sure that the brothers go out with him. Even if we can't put him on the committee right away, tell him, hey, listen, this brother's doing this on this night. You want to stop by, try to break the ice with the brothers. It's definitely one of those things. It's a fine line. It's really tough to try to figure out what to do with a brother when he first comes in.
It's interesting. We've traveled around New York State and outside to other grand jurisdictions, and one of the lodges that I visited had a really cool tradition that I tried to embrace when I was master of my lodge here in DC a couple years back, which was as soon as we raised a brother, the next meeting, he's an entered apprentice, I would have him escorted, and if we didn't have any dignitaries, I would have him sit next to me in the east. And it was funny because they don't know how special that is until they can't sit in that chair again, until they go through all the other chairs. And then they go, wow, this guy tapped me to come sit next to him during the meetings. And I have no idea what's even going on here.
What I would do in my jurisdiction, when I was district deputy and I was brought in on my night, I would take an entered apprentice and come into the room and tell him I don't want to be escorted. And I would basically escort him into the lodge on a DD visit, so he can feel like, oh wow, I came in with the DD kind of a thing, and taking moments. I think when you're in a position of leadership, reaching out is really important. I'm half the time when I go out with the Grand Line, I'm trying to, if I can talk to somebody who's new or even a candidate. I mean, I love my brothers, but I much rather talk to some of those brothers, because you really have to be on for them, because something Right Worshipful Peter Flehan told me. He said, someone may never remember your name, but they'll remember how you treated them.
Absolutely true. That's true in a lot of aspects of life. Yeah.
Right. And I carry that with me. He gave me that once I joined Grand Line.
So, Right Worshipful, I feel like we could have this conversation all night, because I know we almost have. I'm impressed. I still think that's the original cigar that you lit when we first started.
Yes. And I'm only halfway done.
I know. I'm impressed. Although the sun that was behind you has set, and I don't want you to wake up tomorrow and come out to a dead battery, and then everybody in New York isn't able to get to work because you're not there to help them get around the city. So I'm going to get you out of here on this question, Right Worshipful, and I really sincerely appreciate your time. And I'm sure you've gotten asked this question so many times. I'm in my mind trying to figure out how to ask it or propose it in a way that could be interesting to our listener. But that would be your advice. You're a leader of our Grand Lodge. You're in the Grand Line. You've been doing this for a long time. You carry that passion with you, and you exemplify it. You live it every day. Anyone that meets you knows that you're a Mason by the way that you act to others and the way you conduct yourself. What advice would you like to whisper into the ear of that interested gentleman, that brother who's getting ready to take his first degree, whether it's later this month or before the end of the year in his lodge, so that he can be prepared for this experience, so he gets the most out of it? What advice do you want to give him?
I look him in the eye and I tell him that there's nothing that happens in Masonry that you'd be ashamed of. Everything that you're going to go through tonight, brothers from George Washington, Ben Franklin, honorable men, to someone like me, hardworking guy, you're amongst great men. Carry yourself in that way, in that light. When you talk about Masonry, keep it in high and be reverent in the way you speak about Masonry, because it's probably one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. It can change your life if you allow it to. Just be open and know that, this is something that really could make an impact not only in your life, but in the life of the people around you.
Thanks again to my guest this week, Right Worshipful Gary Salgado, Junior Grand Deacon of the Grand Lodge of New York. You can get early access to next week's episode and an ad-free listening experience. Plus, check out all of our subscriber extra episodes by becoming a Patreon subscriber of the Craftsman Online podcast. Get your free 7-day trial to just test it out in the notes for this episode. I'm Right Worshipful Brother Michael Arce. Until our time together next week, let peace and harmony prevail.